is going. But by way of background, I came out of the games business, well, media business, movies originally, digital media after that. But what got me into this space was gaming. If you've ever played things like World of Warcraft or Second Life, I made a market starting back in 1999 all the way through up and until recently for the in-game assets. You know, the gold in World of Warcraft, the Linden dollars in Second Life. And this is back when people were like, why would I ever want to buy digital gold? Why would someone do that? And I'd be like, well, do you play golf? And they'd be like, yeah. I go, well, do you like to play golf with good golf clubs? You know, you want to play on a good course? I go, just because something is intangible doesn't make it any less valuable. If that's how you choose to spend your discretionary time. And this became a very big business. We ended up building a supply chain of about 400,000 people in China that were playing games professionally to mine digital currency that we would sell all over the world. We were PayPal's largest merchant for years. We were Google's largest advertiser for a little while. We helped launch Alipay. So got very deep into the cross-border sort of payments, got very deep into mining when it was much more complicated before it was automated. It actually required physical labor at one point. But this industry is actually what drove a lot of the user adoption in crypto, something that's in. But about 3 months ago, I said, no, crypto winter is over, spring has come early, I see groundhogs everywhere. And the data point that is worth noting is that an association by the name of Cambridge Associates, which is what all the major institutions, the endowments, the pensions, the big insurance companies, this is who they look to determine their asset allocation. And about 3 months ago, they said that every major institution in the world, not just Harvard and Yale and MIT, should have 30 basis points of their assets allocated to this industry, which should drive about $300 billion of investment into the sector, though it'll take years to happen. But this is the thing that's triggering it more than anything else. And other things, just to put sort of numbers into perspective. Sometimes we're like, oh, have we missed the opportunity? Just to show us where we are. In the internet bubble of 1999, the tech stocks got to 6.7 trillion. And that was an entirely Western phenomenon. And that number is not inflation adjusted. It's not taking into consideration any of the quantitative easing and other things that have occurred. I could make a compelling argument that number should have been 50 to 100 trillion. So when we look at our industry at $200 billion today, we haven't even seen the beginning of the first big bubble. These are all just sort of like the pre-quakes. We haven't even seen, the big game. It's all preseason right now. I heard John Matonis mention IEOs, and yes, the ICOs are back, but they're called IEOs, and this is a very good thing. The exchanges are essentially operating as underwriters. In this first wave of ICOs, and I had the pleasure of being one of the founding board members or founders of Mastercoin, where we invented the ICO back in the summer of 2013, they were a little out of hand, and it was where the issuer was essentially marketing directly to the contributor in that token sale. The IEO is where the exchange is jumping into the middle and acting as an underwriter and essentially filtering the projects, limiting the number of projects that are happening, and they're, in terms of the size of the offering, limiting the scale of those offerings. So I think this is a much more rational thing. It's allowing innovators to be able to access capital markets to get the resources they need, but in a much more sane fashion. So I think this is a great thing. You've heard about security tokens. These are going to be massive. It's going to still take a while for this to take off, but I'm a huge fan of security tokens. I think we're going to see all the private equity markets, venture markets, hedge fund markets, real estate markets, energy markets, bond markets, all of this stuff will be tokenized. So between these two asset classes, I think we're looking at a quadrillion-dollar market. We're looking at the largest market the world has ever seen. So if you're questioning whether or not you're in the right space at the right time, absolutely. If anything, we're still too early. We're essentially where the internet was in 1995 or 1996. We just now have the bridges, the roads, and the tunnels to start to do the big things. But it's still early. It took till 1999 really for that to take off. And in terms of real traction, it took until the 2000s. Things are moving a little faster. Banks, I think this is worth noting. So in the year 2007, 2008, when we had the global financial crisis, we talked about the banks becoming too big to fail. This is a data point that's lost on most people, and that is that no new banks have been created since then. Essentially no new banks. And so the big have gotten even bigger. And this is a huge, huge risk factor. But that's some of the work that we're doing here, right? We have these non-custodial wallets or non-custodial blockchain-based banks that are coming in to hopefully stabilize and distribute this infrastructure. And then you also have new sort of 2.0 banks that are lightweight, mobile in nature, one of which just announced a new Puerto Rican bank, the Medici Bank, with Prince Lorenzo de Medici. As I like to say, the Medici started the first bank, and the Medici family is back to start the last bank. Anyway, the internet is broken. The internet as we know it is going to completely go away. When the internet was first being architected, it was, we knew the cryptography that was needed to secure it, but we didn't have the computer processing power at the time. And the powers that be didn't want it secure. And this is becoming a major, major problem now that we have state-sponsored hacking. The internet needs to be upgraded. The blockchain is essentially going to be the security layer as part of that new stack, which probably also includes things like 5G, et cetera. But the entire internet as we know it is likely to be rebuilt. Again, the opportunity here continues to be massive. Spring is here. Spring is here. And so let's talk a little bit about the future and what to expect in the remainder of 2019. We have scalability. The Generation 3 blockchains are here that deliver scale, where you can have very large user bases. They're now very fast, low latency, and some of them have no friction. EOS is not the only one, but this is one of the ones that I'm pointing out. I believe another major trend that you're going to see over the course of the year here is own your own data. We have our DNA, but we also have our digital DNA. And our digital DNA is all over the place. That digital DNA is, you don't even know where it is. You don't even know who's collecting it, when they're collecting it. They're collecting it in your bedroom, they're collecting it in your most private places, listening to your conversations and selling that data without your consent. We're moving into a world where our consent will be necessary, where we are taking back the ownership of our data, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to still be advertised to and all the things, but it's going to be done in a consensual manner. I think most of us believe that consent is important in this world. I think gaming is going to be a huge market for where this happens, where you're going to be seeing blockchain applications. I really love the idea of sort of augmented reality, sort of environments where you're going to be able to go into an augmented Ready Player One. You're going to go find millions of dollars of buried Bitcoin and EOS and things all over the world, and this is happening right now with Satoshi Treasures and others. But we're going to start to see major things. Of the EOS VC funds, about 50% of the capital that's been deployed thus far has been investments into gaming deals. So if you're a game developer, iGaming, or call it video games, or what I like to say is the convergence of those, which is play to earn, this is exactly the time to be looking. The smartest game developers out there are building this way. You should consider it too. Another thing we're going to see is social, back to owning your own data. I think the days of, how Facebook has historically operated are coming to an end. Facebook even recognizes and agrees that this change is happening. But this is, it's time for us to control our data, control who has access to it. And I think that's a big thing. We're going to see social sort of, whatever 5.0 is happening. I think the same is true with messaging. This is my wife's company, Sense, which is provably secure messaging. If you haven't downloaded it, Sense Chat, provably secure on-chain messaging. Another project I'm focused on is Mt. Gox. I was very involved in acquiring Mt. Gox before its collapse, and post-collapse I got very involved in trying to clean up the mess. That's a big part of what I do. And it's now been in bankruptcy for 5 years. Gox Rising is an effort to create a new exchange under the same brand, but also to make sure the victims are taken care of. The Mt. Gox story is not over. This is our industry's Lehman Brothers. It is our story's Bear Stearns. And we have the ability to write the ending of this story, and we can make it a happy ending. And so we're focused on this. This is something we haven't really been showing, but a project I've been working on for 2 years, and I'll introduce it to you with some cool video.
ProxyCoin is a new film, television, and digital media company that uses blockchain technology to provide investors a unique opportunity to participate in the Hollywood film and television industry.
I want to hear your plan.
Using ProxyCoins, digital security tokens that will trade on global markets open to security tokens, The company provides each investor direct fractional ownership in a diversified slate of studio-quality films and TV programs.
What's your secret?
ProxyCoin democratizes entertainment investing by providing most investors an unprecedented opportunity to participate in the frequently above-market returns of major Hollywood productions with mitigated risk, exceptional transparency, and near frictionless liquidity.
No one has ever done anything like this.
To do this, we've assembled a team of respected financiers, blockchain experts, technology and AI scientists, along with some of Hollywood's most innovative and disruptive entrepreneurs and executives. With a combined 100 years of experience, together they have financed, produced, or distributed more than 400 films and some of the most successful programs in television history. Our principals have taken a forward-thinking approach in pioneering some of Hollywood's most groundbreaking finance deals, like establishing new channels between Wall Street financiers and Hollywood studios. Over the last 15 years, ProxyCoin's principals pioneered sophisticated slate and co-financing models that provided over $25 billion of capital to major studios such as Warner Brothers, Universal, and Sony. And we're also responsible for creating a new revenue window through a first-of-its-kind deal with Netflix.
Game over.
Our principals were also integral in structuring the financing arrangements that led to Marvel becoming a studio, allowing them to make their own films such as Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Thor, and Captain America.
I could do this all day.
But finance doesn't exist in a vacuum. ProxyCoin's principals have a history of success in selecting projects using both quantitative and qualitative factors. ProxyCoin will produce 8 to 10 films and 2 to 4 television series per year.
Short on time, so I'm going to just skip through the end of that. But the idea is security tokens, where is that market going to come from? I think it's going to come from intellectual property, specifically entertainment. And the idea is that we can take movies while they're in pre-production public with a reggae offering, and so fans can participate in the ownership, gamification, all sorts of interesting ways that we can change the entertainment industry and turn it into a meritocracy, where we, the people, get to decide what content gets made, including things that are outside of the traditional studio sort of tentpole model. Another thing that's worth noting in the future, June 1st, June is coming. You'll see some pretty amazing announcements out of EOS, so stay tuned. As I said, summer is here. One of the theories, but something that you might find interesting, and you can look this up later, this is Pokemon. The character on the left there is Don, in the center is Satoshi. Most people don't know the character names, and obviously his teacher was Brock. And Nakamoto is a Japanese philosopher you may want to learn about. I like to talk about this, which is that a new definition of a billionaire is not someone with $1 billion, but someone that's positively impacting the lives of 1 billion people. I believe that we have an opportunity to change the game. And for each and every one of us, you should ask yourself, what are the things that motivate you? How do you measure success in your life? Do you measure success by, the job that you have, the money that you're making? I measure my success in life by the positive impact I'm having, and that's how I prioritize my life. And we all have the ability to decide how we're going to measure our success in this sort of nonlinear game. And the idea is to go from a world of compounding interest to compounding impact. And save the bees, there's some honeycomb in there. We are in Malta, so let's talk about knights real briefly. What are the codes of conduct of knights? Integrity, service-oriented sort of mindsets, but integrity. We are in Malta. This is an 8-foot bronze sculpture of Hercules, and you can look up what the pillars and the US dollar mean and things like that later. But the sculptor that makes this makes the largest bronze sculptures in the world, and the first one he did was of Hercules breaking the 2 pillars of the world. This one is Hercules pulling the pillars together, and it's called the Union of the World. We have the opportunity to create these win-win scenarios where the old and the new can win together. The incumbent systems, governments, Fortune 2000s. In an ideal world, this is an evolution where we all evolve together. We're not here to break the system. We are here to unite the system and evolve together. I'm obviously doing lots of stuff in Puerto Rico. If ever you want to spend time with me, this is the place to go. Everything is possible. We can make the world a better place. And I will close out with some Stephen Hawking.
When we see the Earth from space, we see ourselves as a whole. We see the unity and not the divisions. One planet. One human race. We are not the same, but we are one. We are here together, and we need to live together, with tolerance and respect. Our only boundaries are the way we see ourselves. The only borders, the way we see each other. We must become global citizens. Our voices are important. We give
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's give a warm welcome to the Prime Minister of Malta, the Honourable Joseph Muscat, as he elucidates his thoughts on this fast-developing sphere.
Hello and good morning. Stephen Hawking is a very hard act to follow, so bear with me, please. So last year, as you well know, this country approved 3 blockchain-related acts. The Virtual Financial Assets Act provides legal certainty to this industry that has long longed for it. The Malta Digital Innovation Authority Act provides for the setup of an authority that raises the level of assurances in technology, an authority which is the first of its kind. And the Innovative Technology Arrangements and Services Act defines how, as a jurisdiction, our country is providing higher levels of assurances on blockchain, DLT, smart contracts, and related software. We're here just a year later, and we're proud that as a jurisdiction, Malta is the first country worldwide to have an operative regulatory framework which provides such certainty and diligence across the board. 2 weeks ago, the Malta Financial Services Authority approved and listed the first virtual financial assets agents, ensuring due diligence and assurances on virtual financial asset-based operations. The Malta Digital Innovation Authority last April approved and listed the first system auditors, enabling Malta to be the first jurisdiction to introduce technology assurances worldwide. To date, our FSA has received around 30 applications for VFA agents, 11 of which have been registered. On the other hand, the Malta Digital Innovation Authority has received 8 system auditors applications, of which 3 have already been approved and 5 are in the process. These system auditors work on technology side when MFSA require a systems audit. This shows that apart from the buzz, Malta is really becoming the blockchain island. Last November, we also set up an artificial intelligence task force, and 2 months ago, a national AI strategy was released for public consultation. And here we find ourselves at the Malta AI and Blockchain Summit, bringing together thought leaders, professionals, and academics from around the world. As many of you know, AI enables for a more efficient and accurate service of everything around us. And in the future will even allow for new types of services that we cannot yet envisage. Automation is, unfortunately, many times perceived with skepticism and fear. It is for this reason that within our national strategy, education of the existing workforce features as one of the 3 main pillars. We should not fear technology, but embrace it and use it to provide a better quality of life. Looking forward, IoT, internet-connected computational devices, which can sense the external environment and manipulate it if required, will enable a more efficient services for the 4.3 billion citizens of the digital world. It is estimated that there will be at least 50 billion connected IoT devices within the next 5 years. There's no doubt that such new technologies bring about new opportunities and very big challenges. When technology is applied in safety-critical domains like that of health or within the automotive industry, it's so much important that high levels of assurances are provided. As we are getting closer to such a future, we are already investigating into how to provide these assurances. We're already doing this within the blockchain and DLT sphere. We should now look to provide these assurances for other emerging technologies so as to make sure that our country, and I would dare say even Europe, embraces technology. Thank you very much.
The Parliamentary Secretary for Financial Services, Digital Economy and Innovation considers the impact of this thriving industry on the blockchain island. The Honourable Silvio Schembri, Government of Malta.
Good morning, everyone. Honourable Prime Minister, CEO, Dave Police, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. A wise man once said that time flies, and it's up to you to be the navigator. And it seems that in keeping with the nature of this high-flying sector, we have navigated and covered a lot of ground in a short period of time, since the first edition of this very first summit. Operators, investors, and why not, consumers, welcome again to the blockchain island, which I have to say is slightly different than the one you visited on the 1st of November. That day was a landmark moment for our country. We managed to write history by being the first jurisdiction in the world to establish a holistic regulatory framework, as explained also by the Prime Minister, which regulates this sector. On that day, both the MFSA and the MDIA rolled up their sleeves to identify, respectively, diverse VFA agents and the system auditors, the pillars which ascertain credibility and the satisfactory function of this emergent sector. It is now widely acknowledged that a Maltese license is one which begets a certain amount of prestige to those operators, businesses and investors who make the grade and acquire such a license. Applications are now being processed through the system auditors that will act as the bridge between the operators and the MDIA, and I'm informed that just today, more system auditors have been approved by the Malta Digital Innovation Authority. These are responsible for undertaking audits on innovative technology arrangements in order to ensure that the standards by the NDIA and the MFSA are adhered to according to their arrangements. It is also their responsibility to maintain and oversee the technology arrangements, intervene in response to critical matters and notify the authority on the material changes. Operators and companies operating in virtual financial assets in and from Malta will have to obtain a license from the Malta Financial Service Authority for their operations. To this end, the virtual financial asset agents will act as the buffer between the authority and the industry. VFA agents are responsible for the preliminary due diligence on the issuer or company dealing with virtual currencies and the preparation of the necessary application form. In other words, both the system auditors and VFA agent will act as the gatekeepers of the industry, ensuring that the whole process is carried out in a transparent and timely manner, fostering the much coveted certainty and peace of mind which is sometimes lacking within this sector. But it is not only certainty and peace of mind which elevates Malta as the jurisdiction of choice for operators within this industry. There is another crucial and all-important element which has propelled our country to the forefront, and this is unquestionable our diverse pool of talent. I have just had the privilege of attending a ceremony at the University of Malta, wherein 19 students which hail from diverse backgrounds, being it law, business and finance and ICT were awarded new scholarship grants to pursue a master's degree in DLT. This initiative and others of the same ilk fully complement our vision of upskilling today's existing workforce, as well as encouraging newcomers to this exciting new emergent sector. However, we cannot rest on our laurels, for investment in our human capital is what ultimately gives us the edge over other competing jurisdictions. We will strive to continue sustaining our talent pool, and to this end I appeal to all of you here today to work closely together and share your valuable expertise and knowledge in an industry that is growing fast and is already impacting our lifestyle. There is a fast evolving digital revolution happening as we speak, and therefore it is inevitable that the exciting chapter our country has embarked upon will not stop at blockchain. We have set our sights upon exploring and conquering other sectors such as artificial intelligence. The Malta.ai task force has just recently launched with the aim of formulating a holistic AI strategy, firmly placing Malta amongst the first 10 nations and top 10 nations in the world which can boast a strategy for this sector. Ultimately, Malta